Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today we are talking about how to make $1 million. I mean, who doesn't want to know that, right? Now, I gotta start by giving you a little disclaimer. I'm gonna give you some examples in this show and in this episode that may be sensitive to young ears. So if your child's in the car, you may want to turn this off. Now, am I gonna cuss and be rude? No, I would never. However, I'm going to use some examples that may share some things you don't want them to hear. So go ahead and turn this off if you've got your little ones by your side. Now, remember when you were little and you just believed. Y'all, we just came out of the Christmas season and my boys are 2 and 3.5 and they are so much fun. Like the magic of Christmas and Santa and flying reindeer and the elf on the shelf, which our elf's name is Bob, by the way. That's the only phrase Carter could say when we got this when he was little. Bob would fly around the house every night, and Bob ended up in the Cinnamon Toast Crunch box and ended up getting into all kinds of mischief. And the wonder on my child's face and the light and glow in his eyes as he just soaked it all in, as he really believed all of these things were possible. And I just love that because when we're children, we really do believe, don't we? We believe in Santa and flying reindeer, and we believe in the elf on the shelf, and we believe in the tooth fairy or the Easter bunny. And I just remember when I was young that anything was possible. It wasn't just Santa Claus. It was like anything was possible. You know, when I was in 4th grade, we were graduating elementary school, going into middle school, and before we graduated, the teacher asked us what we wanted to be when we grew up. And they actually printed this in the yearbook for that year. And I remember so many of my classmates wanted to be NBA players or NFL players. If you go back, by the way, and look at that yearbook from Granbury Elementary, next to Crystal Lynn Brown, which is my given name, fun fact for you guys, it said I wanted to work on a ranch, had high ambitions, huh? Yeah, anyway, besides that, we just believed. We believed we could be anything we wanted to be. We believed we could be rich and famous. We believed we could be millionaires. And there were truly kids that printed in the yearbook that they wanted to be a millionaire whenever they grew up. Now, as a child, we really did believe that anything was possible, but something happened. Something happened in our growing up, in our maturing, in our becoming more reasonable and level-headed and practical. We stopped believing. Now, we of course stopped believing in things that aren't possible, like Santa Claus, unless, I don't know, maybe he is. But we also stopped believing in things that are. When we stopped believing in things that aren't possible, we also stopped believing in things that actually are possible, like living your dream, or making a lot of money, or becoming really, really successful. At some point in your journey, you gave up on that and you thought, oh, well, I'm gonna settle. Well, I'm gonna be more practical. Well, I'm not gonna dream too big because I don't wanna be disappointed. I don't wanna be let down, and that's not realistic. And oh, that's actually selfish. That's selfish. So I'm just gonna play small. But if you don't believe something is possible, from living your dream to being successful to making a lot of money, well, you'll never try. If you don't believe something is possible, you're never going to try. Now, I've used this example before because it's really true. I never buy lottery tickets. Ever. Why? It's not because I'm so holy and I'm like, oh, I'm against that, like morally. No, I'm not. It has nothing to do with I just have this high moral standard for myself. I don't believe it's possible. So I'm not going to spend 5 cents or $5 or $50 or any amount of money on a lottery ticket because I don't believe I'm going to win. I don't care if the lottery gets up to 100 bazillion, million, trillion dollars. I'm not going to buy a lottery ticket because I don't believe I'm going to win. And when you don't believe something's possible, you're not going to try. You're not going to invest the time, the money, the effort, the energy into a result you don't think is actually possible. Now, I don't do that with lottery tickets, but there are things that I do believe are possible. And because I believe they're possible, I try. I put effort into them. I put energy into them. I put a lot of work and blood and sweat and tears into that thing because I believe it's possible. And then guess what happens? It doesn't seem so impossible. When you start believing in something and then working toward it, the path between where you are and where you want to be becomes much more clear, much less blurry, and then it doesn't seem so crazy after all. But you first have to believe. You first have to believe that that thing is possible. Now, I don't know what weird feelings you have around money and wealth and even the word millionaire. Some of you are like listening to this episode with a very skeptical perspective because you don't even know how you feel about that word. That word makes you uncomfortable just by me saying it, how you can become a millionaire. Maybe you grew up in a family where rich people were evil. Maybe where you grew up in a family where wealth was frowned upon and judged and talked about, where maybe you have in-laws that turn up their nose at people with money. Isn't that ironic, by the way, since usually it's the people that are wealthy that we think, oh, aren't they such snobs? And yet there's a lot of judging happening when they're judging people with money. Maybe you live in a community with a poor frame of mind and a victim attitude. Maybe. But I want to tell you something. That's actually none of your business. What other people think about money is none of your business. How other people turn up their nose at money is none of your business. The weird feelings and squirmy sensations that people have getting uncomfortable around the idea of building wealth is none of your business. The only thing that is your business is your business and your values and your beliefs and making sure that those are in check with reality. Because let's just paint a picture here really quickly. We have this idea, or maybe you've had this idea, that rich people are evil and becoming rich is selfish and they're bad people and they're greedy people and they take advantage of people and all these qualities that we attribute to people that make wealth. And we say, oh, well, rich people are this and the top 1% and all of this. Let's just put that into perspective really quickly, okay? If you make over $30,000 a year, you are in the richest top 1% of people in the world. Did you hear that? If you make more than $30,000 a year, you are in the richest 1% of people in the world. So let's be really careful when we use things like rich and what wealth even is defined by. Here's what we need to realize. Money is the common denominator of everything you want to do in your life. It is. That's a fact. That's reality. That's not my opinion. That's not my perspective. Money is the common denominator of everything you want to do in your life. Everything. You want to buy a house? That costs money. You want to get married? Weddings are expensive. You want to build your business? Takes money. You want to help the homeless? Takes money. You want to raise kids? Kids are expensive, can I tell you? Everything you want to do. You want to do noble and holy, important things. Like you want to build wells in Africa. Okay, that costs money. You want to help people when an earthquake destroys an entire area. That rebuilding, those supplies, those resources, those tools, that costs money. Money is the common denominator of everything that you want to do in your life. So the more money you have, the more you can do. That's a fact. The more money you have, the more you can do for your family and for other people. So I want you to stop holding yourself back and calling it holy. Because the reality is, the more you have, the more impact you can make. The more you have, the more you can do. God did not create you to be a victim. He calls you and created you to be a victor. He commands you, believe it or not, to prosper, to steward what you have well, to be wise with that. You know, many of you are familiar with the parable of the talents in the Bible, but I want to read it to you because I think this is a really important reminder that regardless of how we were raised, regardless of, our parents' ideas or our in-laws' ideas or our friends or the people in the church's ideas around money, the reality is that what God has blessed you with, He expects you to steward and to increase. So let's talk about this. I'm going to read it to you. This is the parable of the talents from the New International Version. It says, "For it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another he gave 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them and made 5 talents more. So the one who had 2 talents also made 2 more. But he who had received 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time, the master of those servants came and settled his accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 more, saying, 'Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here I have made 5 talents more.' His master said to him, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. You are the joy of your master.' And he also, who had the 2 talents, came forward, saying, 'Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I've made 2 talents more.' His master said to him, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master.' He who also had received 1 talent came forward and saying, 'Master, I knew you were a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you had not scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours.' But his master answered him, 'You wicked and slothful servant. You knew that I did not reap where I have not sown and gathered where I had scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers at my coming, and I should have at least received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. But the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away.'" Now, this entire passage can be taken out of context. It can be manipulated, but the bottom line is the same. If you're not faithful with what God has given you, he's not going to give you more. If you misuse and waste and lose and aren't careful with the amount of money he's given you today, he's not going to give you more to mismanage. He's not going to give you more to screw up. He's not going to give you more to waste. He's going to give you as you show that you are faithful and you are capable of handling more. And guys, I know that this topic is tough for some of us. I know, especially if you are a believer, you have all these feelings of, well, I feel guilty for earning money. What if I'm not supposed to have money? When you have money, you can do a lot. You can help a lot of people. So don't see money as a gateway to selfishness and taking advantage of people. The amount of money you have does not determine your character. Your character determines how any amount of money is used. And that's why I'm so excited about this show today, because we are talking about how you actually can become a millionaire. Now, I know that sounds crazy. It sounds like Santa Claus, like it's not reality, but you really can. You can build wealth, and when you build wealth, you're not only protecting and taking care of your family and your business and your future, you're also giving yourself the ability to make a huge impact in the world. When opportunities come up, when doors open, when there are causes that tug at your heart, you have the means to do something about it. Money is a tool that allows you to do what you want to do and make the kind of impact that you want to make. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you're ready to learn more about how you can also build wealth and make an impact, you don't want to miss Chris Hogan's brand new book, Everyday Millionaires. You can get your copy by going to chrishogan360.com or by clicking the link below.